Hey guys, it's been a minute as usual. Shop's been busy between making parts and taking on a few more customer projects. I'll have a video on this guy real soon here for you. Just haven't had a whole lot of time to create videos, but I was updating the website with some new products and I thought it was time to do an update of our valve manifold video. I did one a few years ago, back before AccuAir went out of business and then got bought and reopened here within the last year. I did one comparing the AccuAir VU4 manifold to the VX4 at the time. But I haven't really followed up with all of the other valve options we have for air ride. So I just wanted to go over them with you, break down some of the features and stuff I like about each one, and give some pricing, at least as of November 2022. But yeah, so enough of an intro. Let me flip the camera around and we'll go over some of this stuff. All right, so this is our current valve offering as far as four-path systems go. Most of these valves are available in a two-path, like if you just wanted to do a front up and down, rear up and down type setup, or just doing a rear axle of a vehicle or whatever. But for the sake of comparison and keeping things not too complex, we're going to stick with all the four-path stuff because that's mostly what we recommend. Usually you want to isolate all four corners of the vehicle so you don't get air transferring from one side to the other when you go around a corner and such. So basically, this started out with my intention just being to cover the manifolds, but I figured I'd also add some of the other options in as well. So we'll start with the basics. At the lowest cost end of the scale, this is our what we put in our what we call our stage 1 air management packages. So it's a four-path manual control setup. So obviously you get a couple of gauges, and each gauge has two needles on it. So what you'd end up doing is running your front left and front right, and then this gauge, the black needle would read one and the red would read the other, and then your left rear and right rear over on this side. And again, you'd have a gauge dedicated to that. With these, the airlines actually travel into the switch itself. So you have all these lines coming into the cabin, and wherever you mount this, you have two lines coming from the tank and then four lines going out to the bags. So it gets a little complex under the dash, but it's dead reliable. It is inexpensive. And with the gauges, you have an easy way to read your pressures while you're setting your ride height. But it is slow to lift and drop. So yeah, that one runs, I think they're running about $220 for just this valve package, the panel with the gauges and the switches and everything. Moving from there, this is what a lot of guys who have been into air ride for a long time are familiar with. This is what would be in our fast management systems, because these valves flow a ton of air. They're very simple, they're very reliable, but they're a pain in the ass to set up, and mounting them cleanly and having the setup be attractive is challenging. So typically we recommend, if guys want to go fast and that's their main concern, this is the way to go. If they don't care about speed, we really push them into one of the manifolds. So these valves run about 55, 59 a piece for the half inch. And then you've got a bunch of plumbing and everything that's associated with it. So you got to get a T and inlets, outlets, all that stuff. But that's basically how one corner would be. So you'd have four of these on a four-path vehicle. So yeah, take that for what it is. But moving on from that stuff, let's talk about all the manifolds that we have available. So this would be what we'd include in our stage 2 kits and some of the stage 3 as well. But these are the main control manifolds. So starting at the least expensive, I guess I'll move up from there. AVS makes two different versions of their manifold. So this is their AVS branded, house brand manifold. And what I like about it, it's compact, it's simple. The wiring comes out the bottom, so it's easy. Once you mount it, you can actually conceal the wiring really easily. They put a sticker on the bottom that shows like what your outlets are and all of that good stuff, which is convenient, but they also include a diagram. They include mounting hardware, stainless steel. So it just goes in, let me come around there, those 4 mounting holes on the perimeter. And AVS actually offers brackets, mounting brackets to hook it up. So the way these are set up, on each side of the valve, you have an inlet and an outlet. So your air coming in from the tank and in from the tank on both ends. So you can run, dual air lines in, which actually speeds the system up significantly. When you're lifting both fronts, they're not breathing off of one line. If you're under space constraints or whatever, you can certainly feed it off of one line. It just slows the system down. So you've got your inlets. When you let the air out of the bags, they come out the open ports here, or you can actually add a fitting and run that out, somewhere else, so you're not directing air, right onto something you don't want it hitting. And then on the face are your 4 outlets to the bags. So it's configurable. Typically we do, left front, left rear, right rear. But if you're doing a setup that's going to be seen, then it might make more sense to wire it up differently or plumb it up differently. And then on the back side of the valve, there are some 1/8 inch gauge ports, and they're spaced out enough to where you can get a compact size, the smaller transducer style air pressure sensors on a digital setup, or you can just run these up to some analog gauges with fittings. Now this one, it includes hardware and it includes the diagram, but it does not include fittings. So if you're buying this by itself, we'll need to also get you set up with the right fittings for however you're plumbing the system. So bear that in mind as far as the cost. The cost on that one is $349. Now, they also have a more premium brand that they call Evolve, and that's this guy right here, the Evolve manifold. About the same footprint and same style as far as inlets, outlets, gauge ports, all that good stuff. It's just dressed up a little bit more. So it's got the black powder coating on the manifold body. They cover up the electrical coils and cap all the hardware on the top with the little airbag logo bolt caps. So it's a little fancier. The Evolve comes with a plug on it. And then you can actually hook that up to a switch box a little easier, not have to terminate any wiring. The AVS valve is just bare wires. Now they give you a diagram telling you what color is what, so it's still not real difficult to wire up yourself. And if you buy say the AVS 7 switch box, it actually comes with a wiring diagram that matches this, and they include the bullet connectors that you're going to terminate this with to hook it up to the switch box. So not a big deal either way. The Evolve manifold, like this, black with all the hardware covers and all that, runs $419. So you're paying what, about $70 more for the Evolve. Moving on from there, as far as price goes, you've got the Slam Specialties manifold, and this one is similar in size to the AVS, maybe a little bit smaller overall. But the big thing with it is the fittings are built in. So you don't have to do any extra plumbing, which is nice. However, these fittings, if you end up damaging one, like putting in hard line, or don't have a cleanly cut piece of airline or whatever, you do have to either send that in for service, or we sell these replacement cartridges. It's not as easy as unscrewing it and screwing a new one in. You kind of have to destroy the old one getting it out. But this is a really nice manifold. The inlets are on each side, and then the outlets are on the same side, so it kind of makes the plumbing a little bit cleaner. And the dump is actually built in to the base. So it's filtered, and that quiets it down a little bit, and it saves you having to run more fittings and line and such. Now this one, they include hardware. They include this cap, so if you only want to run a single airline to feed it, you can actually plug the other inlet. So it's a nice feature that they include that. And then they also include a pigtail harness. So you can, if you buy a pre-made harness for a certain switch box, you can hook it up directly, or you can hook this up and then run these out to whatever switch setup you're doing. So yeah, that one, they have two versions. So this is the one, the standard, what they call the 8C. This one runs 444. And then they have one called the 8C-GP for gauge ports, and that adds 4 gauge ports right on the end here to hook up your air pressure gauges or pressure sensors or whatever. And that one runs 472, so about what, 28 bucks more, something like that. So yeah, moving on from there, we've got the AccuAir VU4. So this is the tried and true. There's probably more of these on air ride equipped vehicles than just about any other manifold on the market. When AccuAir was bought and reopened, they moved back to the VU4 product instead of the VX4. I'm not sure if that was a reliability consideration or what, but this is a great valve. There's nothing wrong with it, so we're happy to continue carrying it. Like the AVS valve, it has your inlets and outlets on the sides, and then your outputs to the bags on the face. And also, like the AVS valve, there's another set of ports on the backside to use as gauge ports or whatever. Comes with a pigtail harness. This one, it plugs directly into the valve here, and then if you have an AccuAir controller set up, this plugs right into the ECU for the AccuAir systems. If you're not using it, if you're putting just a standard switch setup on there, you just cut that off, follow their diagram, and wire it up. This one includes mounting hardware. It includes fittings for your ins and your outs, as well as plugs to plug off those gauge ports, and the additional inlet and outlet if you want to plug those off. So that's a nice setup. That one runs $549. So that's the most expensive one out of the bunch, but you do get your fittings, so that saves you a few bucks there. And again, it is just a really nice product. But these are what prompted this video. This is the Chad Chris 8XL manifold. So they make an 8X and an 8XL. This is the XL, which is literally extra large. The 8X is a little bit smaller, and I wasn't able to get one. They're back ordered currently, but we'll be getting them in stock soon. The 8XL he's chunky. You can see how much bigger it is than a VU4. But the big thing with this, you've got your inlets, your outlets, and your outlets to the bags, which are all labeled nicely. But you undo 4 little Allen bolts on the bottom side of the valve, and it gives you access to the inside where you have your gauge ports right here hidden. And yeah, basically everything runs out the bottom really, really nicely. Your hardware is all hidden, so when it's mounted, that's what you see. So just a super clean setup. Really nicely built. Everything goes together very nicely. Everything I've heard is that they're just dead reliable, like every other valve setup. So yeah, that's, for my money, I think if you're going to have something exposed in like a trunk or doing a bed setup where the valve's going to be shown, that's probably the nicest one to have on display right there. And the price isn't bad. So the 8X, which is a bit smaller, has the same footprint as the VU4 actually. That one runs $474, and then the 8XL runs $499. Both of them include mounting hardware, plugs for those gauge ports if you're not going to use them. wiring diagram, obviously, and a sticker, which is always nice. Everyone loves stickers. And they're available in a black anodized finish or the raw billet aluminum finish. And yeah, I really, really like those. So that pretty much covers all of our standard valve options. So when you look on our website at the Stage 2 air management kits, you're going to see all of these options in a drop-down menu. Well, not these guys, those are different management, but as far as your manifolds go, you're going to have an option of all of these different guys. So yeah, that's, again, you know, if for my money, the Chad Chris, if it's going to be on display, for sure. If you're trying to keep it budget, the AVS manifold's a great way to go. The Slam Specialties manifold is a little bit more money, but with the fittings included and built in, it might make sense to run that one instead. And then the VU4, if you're already running other AccuAir parts, then that one's kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, at $549, that's a recent price increase. It's tough to recommend that one over the others when you've got stuff that looks this nice or is that much less expensive, when they all basically do kind of the same thing. So yeah, kind of your call, but I just wanted to make a quick video and kind of show the differences and educate you guys, give you all the options in one spot. So take some of the guesswork out of it. As always, if you have questions or whatever, put them down in the comments, or you can contact us through our website. It's twistedimages.com. I've got a bunch of new switch boxes also, so at some point I'll lay all that stuff out on a table with a tablecloth, and we'll do a video on that stuff too. But until then, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.